yeah, if we just like duck out quickly and then pop in, that'll be so dynamic for our viewers, and
Wouldn't
really
it?
really dynamic for our listeners. So
What I love about podcasts is, and this is just kind of a consequence of the medium of having an audio and a video podcast, is I
yeah,
love when you have a podcast that starts out as an audio podcast, you listen to as an audio podcast, and then
yeah.
you're still listening to it as an audio podcast, but they made the transition to video, and now they're just saying things and doing things that I can't see
Right.
now. It's so
Okay, yeah.
frustrating.
Yeah. So 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 for our listeners, we had this friend. We have a mutual friend between the two of us that we went on this trip to
Oh
the
my
Poconos
gosh.
with, and we put him in charge of like DJing. Like he was in the passenger seat, so he's in charge of what we're listening to. And we said, like, it was one of those things of like, how teachers will do that thing where they're like talking about the importance of specificity in writing, and so they'll say like, all right, I want you to give me instructions on how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and then they'll try to like follow the instructions like bit by bit. But if it's not specific enough, then I'll just be like, take bread and put peanut butter on it. And they'll take the whole pack of bread and they'll put peanut butter on it, and they like mess it up. It's like one of those things of like, oh, I should have specified more, because I thought I was specific enough when I said, all right, listen, what I need you to do is make sure that there's one for you, one for me, one for Chris. All right, we're gonna just keep doing that cycle because there are three of us in the car.
Yeah,
And he
checks
goes,
out. Makes sense.
oh, okay, sounds good. So he's like, okay, Chris, what do you want? And he's like, scenes from Italian restaurant, Billy Joel. He's like, all right, scenes from Italian restaurant, Billy Joel.
Every time you tell a
Tom,
story, that my choice changes. I'm just always fascinated to see what you'll
I
say
don't
I
know. I
chose
don't
that
remember
time.
what it was, but
I don't know
I'm not
either,
wasting
but
this
it's
space
been
in my
Simon and
brain of what
Garfunkel.
song you
It's
chose
been
3
Matt
years
Maher.
ago.
It's been Billy Joel, man.
So he says,
Anyway,
so,
continue.
yeah, so he says, Crocodile Rock by Elton John, and he's like, all right, now Tom, what do you want? And I say, I want Death on Two Legs by Queen, and I actually do remember I
Yeah,
requested
you
that
did
one.
choose that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then he says, all right, and one for me, a 45-minute Eddie Izzard special. Here's the thing, I've heard Dress to Kill before, Eddie Izzard's comedy special, Dress to Kill. And so, like, I'm able to follow along with it a little bit. You had never heard Eddie Izzard before, but the thing about Eddie Izzard's comedy is that a lot of it is him gesticulating and going,
Yeah.
and so when you haven't seen that, hearing that
You have nothing to
over an
picture.
audio track is very This is just a dude grunting. You
Yeah.
know?
And the other thing about me is I have very particular taste when it comes to comedy. That
Yeah.
when it comes to specials, like I have a very low tolerance for comedy specials. Like there's
Yeah.
specific ones. Like I could watch a Nate Bargatze or like a John Crist or something because they're clean, they're cool, whatever.
Yeah.
But like I'm watching like my family was watching like a Bill Burr once, and it's like
Yeah.
okay, yeah, no, it's kind of funny, and then all right, 15 minutes in, I'm done, I'm good.
Yeah.
And I just don't need to be present for any more of this.
Yeah. So I'm going to go briefly into something else about the visual things, but then I actually have something on comedy. So so when Matt Fradd took Pints with Aquinas, which I listened to Pints with Aquinas since like episode 3, like
Yeah.
he still didn't know what he was doing at the time, and then you and I started getting together to listen to it together, and that's kind of like where our friendship budded from, and so like I was an early listener, and then he started doing things on YouTube, and I was like, "Oh, cool, he's doing things on YouTube." And then he started doing that thing where like he would start an episode, and the first 10 minutes are like, "Look at that! Isn't that amazing?" Yeah, like I just love the color on it, and I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about, man. Like I was still listening to it on like Apple Podcasts or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I always try to be conscious of that, but I frequently fail, I think. So when it comes to comedy, so like I go through these like ideological benders. I actually consider doing like the episode on this, and who knows, maybe we will. But but I go through these like ideological benders where like I will just go through these things of like, yeah, I just want to get rid of everything in my life that is not like directly tying me to Christ, you know?
Sure, that's a good
Like-
instinct to have.
Like not just I want to be detached from it, like in a sense of like, oh, I'm not like holding on to it, in a sense of like I want it out of my life, I want to purge my life of this. and like that's good in a sense because it's like you want to purge yourself of like any habits that take you away from Christ. You want to purge yourself of anything that takes you away from Christ. But things that are like moral neutrals, it's like you don't have to do that. And
Yeah.
but I go through these like benders where I'm just like, I don't want to listen to any music that isn't chant. I don't want to watch any music. Yeah. I don't want to watch any movies that that aren't about God. Like it's like, do I have to purge Interstellar out of my life?
Right.
No. Like
yeah, no more Star Wars. It's done.
Yeah. Can I watch The Bourne Identity? Sure.
Yeah.
But like
Raiders of the Lost Ark's fine though because the Ark of the Covenant's there.
Yes, exactly. That's about God. But the and then there's the prequel where it's like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, and apparently Hindu deities are real or something. Right? So apparently he believes in Shiva now.
Right. But yeah, there's that's frequently how I feel about comedians because like I don't know if I just have a broken enough sense of comedy that like when you say I have a very particular taste in comedians, I'm like, oh, I wish I could say that I consistently have a particular taste in comedians.
I mean, that's just me saying like, I don't like too many jokes about sex because I think it's boring.
But that's the thing is that like you take Bill Burr for instance. Bill Burr is one that I frequently go, that's taking it too far for my taste, right?
Yeah.
And yet sometimes I'll be like, Bill Burr's funny, and I'll like, but like he's making the same sort of jokes sometimes, and it's like I don't know if that's just a matter of like my broken sense of humor, or if it's a matter of like I want to be I want to be the type of guy that's like, oh, I only like 3 comedians. It's like, nah, I like way more comedians than I wish I did. It's like, I knew this one priest who shall remain nameless. I knew this one priest that told me once, he said, if I'm going to hell for anything, it's that I watch Family Guy. Like, because Family Guy is such a broken sense of humor, but you will laugh. And that's the funny thing about comedy is that like comedy is a very honest, very humbling art form because you can't really help what you laugh at.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if somebody tells an off-color joke that like you feel like you're not supposed to find funny, but you do find it funny, you're going to laugh, and you're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh at that." And it's like, I don't know, like it was a joke. Like I guess you could.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like you said, that's part of comedy. You know, just going kind of saying the things that are taboo to say. You know. And,
right.
And yeah, sometimes that can go overboard, you know, when you kind of make it all about that.
Right.
Because there's a fine line between being legitimately funny and then just kind of going into the crazy stuff when you're just capitalizing off of shock value alone. It's like, no, you do actually have to have like some legit comedic chops. It can't just be that people are laughing because I can't believe he said that, you know? Yeah. Yeah. Like I remember. We're getting far afield now. I don't even know where we're actually going with the topic. But
you say we're going far afield as if we've been on a track.
Yeah, that's true. We've just been kind of riffing. Like I remember, so there's these guys I used to watch on YouTube years ago. Like I used to be I'm still big into YouTube a lot more than I should be. But like I used to be big into watching like different gaming channels and stuff. Yeah. So there's this one gaming channel. There's this group of people, and they legitimately were really funny. Like they had a good dynamic between like there's 3, sometimes there's more of them. They had like really good dynamic between all of them, and like they could legitimately make some funny moments, you know, as they're riffing off of games or sometimes playing like tabletop board games, things like that. But I remember at one point they're doing like a D&D campaign or something, and it was a really funny campaign up to a point where it's clear they got bored with it, so it became all just kind of these raunchy sex jokes and just having all these moments of just kind of awfulness. It's just like, you know, you guys are so funny, and I'd like to like you, but then you go into these moments where you clearly have nothing better, so you just kind of launch into this unfunny kind of, oh, we're just kind of being gross for the sake of being gross type humor. And it was, I was always very like, I found it very upsetting because it's like, you legitimately have talent here, but you're wasting it by kind of diving into this.
And it's a difficult thing when like somebody has a certain comedic style and then they abandon it for something that's a little more shock value-y, and it's like. And you know that's the nature of being human is that your style will change, your taste will change, your MO will change. And so like you can't be mad at that. It's not like it like
Yeah.
the person doesn't owe you their old comedic style,
Right.
right? But like I think Dave Chappelle is actually like a good example of someone that's like, yeah, no, he's like a little off color, but also he's very consistent in his comedic style, and he's not making raunchy jokes. Like he's making improper jokes that if we were, you know, eating at the Four Seasons, someone would go, "Oh my," you know. But like they're not raunchy jokes. They're not like because there are a lot of comedians that it's a matter of like, can you justify regularly feeding your soul this? If you laugh at it once and you're at a comedy show or whatever, and you move on, cool. But like if you're regularly taking it in and they're regularly, particularly if it's like when I say raunchy jokes, I mean like jokes that make you envision something that you really ought not to be envisioning for the good of your soul. It's like I feel like Dave Chappelle's a good example of like he doesn't really do raunchy material. He does do some slightly extreme material, but not in that way, you know? So, yeah, he does taboos, but not in a like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he said that, in a way of like, he'll talk about taboo topics, but then he'll talk about them for a while. He's dissecting them, you know? And it's like, I feel like a more intelligent way to go about it, you know? It's like you're taking something taboo and untabooing it rather than just having a quick one-off thing that people go like, oh, I can't believe that he went there, you know?
Yeah, there's a little more intelligence behind that, I feel like.
Yeah. I feel like that also applies to like several art forms. Like we were talking about comedy, but like I think that also applies to like writing. Like I think that applies to like
movies. I mean, we've talked about horror movies,
TV,
and you know that is full of shock value, and gross things for the sake of having gross things.
Right. I was talking. I think I might have talked about this on air once, but I think it was like this was the first episode you ever came on for, which was like the importance of good stories.
That's something I'd be on for, and that was the first one I've ever done.
Yeah. So I was talking to my mom one time. This was years ago. I was maybe like 19 years old. So this is like 10 years ago, and my family, we always enjoyed having our shows. Like the shows that we would always watch as a family, and we had a lot of those. We had like Downton Abbey, Doctor Who. I'm sure there were some American shows along the way, but we had like our shows that like these are shows that we watch together, and we watched The Office together, like the American version, not the bad version, and
people take umbrage at that.
It's like I put myself in the good graces of the Brits for like a hot second, and I was like, I gotta undo it.
Yeah.
But,
did you watch The Office like back when it was like actually on, or like later on?
No, I watched because I was in high school when The Office was on. I think it was like my sophomore, maybe junior year that like the last episode aired. I didn't watch The Office until I was an adult.
Yeah, same.
And when I say adult, I mean like I was college age. Like
I was in the when it came on to Netflix, and that was kind of like the rebirth, the renaissance. I was at the very early end of that. Yeah. Before everyone was watching it again.
Yeah, I probably watched it like a year after you then. Because I was not in like the early spree. I did it after it was cool. I mean,
it was cool. Just it wasn't as cool. Like it wasn't on Comedy Central all of the time like it is now.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't want to say I'm any kind of great. I found The Office after it aired before it was cool, because it was cool. But no,
but like I was 19. I remember because I was working my first like job, like first payroll job, and my coworker, whose name is completely escaping me because it's been like 10 years, but my one coworker, let's call him Zach. His name wasn't Zach, but let's call him Zach. Zach comes up to me. He's like, hey, so I hear you're watching The Office. And I was like, yeah. He's like, you've never watched The Office? And that's how late in the game I was. Like I was getting to it. I was starting it once it was a like, you haven't seen it yet, like, And he's like, you've never watched The Office before? I was like, no. And he's like, and so every now and again, Zach would come up to me and be like, hey, where are you in the office right now? Hey, where are you in the office right now? And at one point, it said like, oh, Idris Elba just got here, and
It's a
and
fantastic arc.
and he was like, oh, I hated those episodes. And I was like, oh,
Seriously?
really? And he's like, yeah, because they make Jim look like a bad guy. That's Jim. That's my guy. And I'm like, I'm sorry that you have so much emotional stock in this fictional character.
Yeah. I mean, he's not a bad guy so much as he's just a idiot. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
to Charles
Yeah.
at least. I mean,
He's the straight man. It's
Yeah.
he is the least insane person. Like
Yeah.
that's literally the whole shtick of his character is that he is the guy immersed in the craziness and he's just going for it, I guess. Just sometimes you just gotta lean in. Sometimes
Yeah.
you just have to go, oh, okay. That
one of
was a
my
choice.
favorite parts of The Office, and is during that arc. I like Idris Elba. I think he did a great job in The Office, just as kind of like that very serious boss.
Yeah.
But like, I love that one scene where Jim's supposed to be doing the rundown, and he has no idea what the rundown is. And like, he looks around, and Charles is in the conference room, just kind of looking up at him. And then he looks around again, and Charles is just peering through the blinds at him for some reason.
That's great. And then there's the I think one of my favorite jokes from that particular part of The Office is for anyone who hasn't watched The Office. There are two characters named Kelly, and one is Kelly Kapoor, played by Mindy Kaling, and the other is who the receptionist that later becomes known as Erin. Like in this episode, she becomes known as Erin, but there are two Kellys, and as a Tom, I really appreciate that they finally did that in the show where they're like, oh, there were two of these people in the workplace. That's a little confusing because
Yeah.
there are always two Toms in the workplace.
Oh, there's
The,
always at least 3 Chris's everywhere.
there are at least three
so
Chris's.
I get it.
Yeah. I feel like everyone I meet is named Chris lately.
It's
But
a
in
very
any
popular
case,
name.
because Idris Elba is appeasing to the eyes. So Kelly, like Mindy Kaling's Kelly, is trying to get him to like she's like reverse wooing him, trying to convince him that like he wants to pursue her sort of thing, and so every time he calls for the secretary, he goes, Kelly, and Mindy Kaling like is like throwing elbows to like get into his office. And she goes, yes, Charles, you wanted me. Like that is a specific phrase because she's like, I'm just trying to do like some subliminal messaging here. I'm trying to get inside his head. And if he just keeps hearing, yes, Charles, you wanted me, he's gonna think that he wants me.
Right.
It's like every single time, it's like, Kelly, get in here. And she goes, and yes, Charles, you wanted me. No, still not you. And okay, you know what? I'm going to call you Kapoor, and I'm going to call you whatever Aaron's last name was. And Aaron's like, oh, can I actually be called my middle name Aaron? And I've always wanted to be called Aaron. He's like, oh, perfect, great. All right, so Aaron, come here. And that just like ruins Kelly's plan. It's like, you can't even call it a subplot. Like, it's somewhere above a gag and somewhere below a subplot. It's just sort
Right.
of a thing.
The Office has a lot of those little things that they just kind of throw in there.
Yeah. But anyway, so like my family, we had these shows that were like our shows we watched together. And when we were doing the I don't know if it was the episode that we did on the importance of good art or if it was the episode that we did on the importance of good stories. But in one of those, we were talking about the thing about art is that it is dependent on the intent of the creator, the subject itself, and the disposition of the consumer. Like whether or not this is good for you, right? Because there's some things like the disposition itself is like the object. This is what makes it objectively okay or objectively not okay. Like if you have something that say like, okay, this is something that's really going to focus on and glorify like rape, incest, and murder, then there's something objectively wrong about that. Like you shouldn't be consuming that, right? But then there are things that's like, no, this is like a moral neutral. It might be like let's take like Braveheart for instance, or like Die Hard. It's like there are some things in Die Hard that if you are if you have the wrong disposition, then this is going to make you want to go on a murder spree, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you have the right disposition, then you're going to be like, that's the story of a man like defending the innocent, and I want to be strong and dependable like he is, you know? Like I want to be the guy that takes care of my family that way. It's like you could take it very different ways.
Sure.
And then there's the intent of it's ironic, the intent of the creator is actually probably the least important of the three, because like, not that's unimportant, but of the three, it's the least important. Because, like, if I intend for something to be like, if I intend to make a story that makes everybody worship Satan, and yet in consuming it, everyone goes like, I feel like I really had an encounter with the divine there. My intent didn't matter. I failed. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, it's just one of those things of like, it like authorial intent does matter, but like people talk about this like Harry Potter, for instance. There's like the age-old debate of, is Harry Potter a an okay thing for Christians to consume, because it is about witchcraft and wizardry, you know, and there are some like pretty decent arguments for like how it's a Christian allegory, like a Christological allegory of like, you know, he has to sacrifice him. I'm gonna spoil it. It's been like, I don't know, 25 years. You're fine.
Yeah, I think the spoiler alert is you don't need that anymore after 25 years. Yeah, 26, 7 years, something like that.
I think it's 27 years. I think it was 98 the first book came out.
That sounds right.
So, yeah, it's been 27 years. You had some time. Anyway, so like, there's a Christological allegory of like Harry has to go and sacrifice himself and be resurrected in order for the evil to be defeated and for his friends to be saved. And it's like, yeah, no, I can see that. I can totally see that. That's a really good, like, a really good allegory for that. It's just using the device of a school for witchcraft and wizardry to do that, right? So it's like, there's that. But then there's also the idea of like, okay, but is this going to inspire my child? Let's say it's like you're trying to decide if your child's going to read it. It's like, is this going to inspire my child to look into witchcraft and wizardry because they want to feel powerful like Harry is powerful, you know? I saw this great video. I can't remember the guy's name. I'll have to link it below or something. But there's this video, I guess from TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, but it was like a short video, and I guess that's where all short videos start. But there was this guy. He made this song where he's basically like screaming into the camera. And he's like, if I went to Hogwarts, I would use physical violence. He's saying like, I wouldn't use any spells. I just punch people and kick. And I'm like, you know, no one tried that. Like maybe that's a good idea.
No one thought about bringing like a gun or something, you know?
Right,
I mean,
right.
What's Voldemort going to do against a gun when he's got a sword or a wand?
Right.
Harry's got a sword.
Yeah, I mean there is a sword.
Yeah, there is a sword.
It is a very important sword to the story, but but like in any case, so like Harry Potter is a good example of this. That say like, all right, so let's just presume for a second, and I'm not actually saying this is true. I haven't followed enough of it to know the reality or disreality of this. But let's just say for a second that J.K. Rowling's intent was, I want to get people fascinated with witchcraft, wizardry, tarot cards, horoscopes, everything witchy. I want people playing with Ouija boards day in, day out. Like, let's just say that like she is just throwing this slop out there just to attract the worst tendencies in humanity. Okay. So, if then most people who read Harry Potter feel like this was a good story of good versus evil and I want to be good. It's like, okay, well the authorial intent didn't matter. Like if that didn't turn most people toward, you know, witchcraft or wizardry or tarot cards or any of that, it's like, if it didn't turn people toward that thing, then ultimately what matters is what effect did it have. Like, then there's still a moral implication for her as the author of why did you try to do that? In the same way that, like, if you tried to murder somebody, but then the murder was botched and you accidentally ended up saving someone's life, it's like, great result. You also tried to murder someone. You should definitely repent of that, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is a pushback so much as a clarifying question or a confusion on my part, but because this is something I think about a lot as somebody who likes to write things, and one day hopes to publish something.
mhm.
But like, again, I like my ideas, they're my ideas, and the idea of putting them out there and having people run with them, that's scary to me, somebody who's never done that before. So I admit that this might be a deficiency on my part, where I wanted to say, oh no, what I say kind of goes, and what everyone else does wouldn't matter. But at the same time, like when I think about this, because people say like, oh, death of the author or something like that.
Yeah.
That's a terminology I've heard. I don't know the specifics of it, but like, I'm sure there has to be a give and a take there, because somebody could take something like Lord of the Rings and take it to a negative end, even though the intent of the author wouldn't be to do that. And again, maybe that's just then in that case to say that that's not something they should be engaging with. But I think of like all the people nowadays, because this is very popular in academia. This is the way I was taught in school, is to take a story, and it doesn't really matter the context the story was written in as much as how can I take this story and bend it to an idea that I have.
Right.
Like how can I take a Shakespeare play and come up with my own ideas as to what this means?
Right.
That doesn't mean anything to the ultimate
Right.
ultimate truth of what Shakespeare was going for, or ultimate context that came out of, right? I mean, like, if I said, oh, Lord of the Rings is a gay allegory about Frodo and Sam, that means nothing, because that's not at all what Tolkien was intending to do, or what the story
Right.
actually represents.
Yeah, so here's how I'll respond to that. So, did you ever watch Man of La Mancha?
No.
Okay, so it's the story of Don Quixote de la Mancha, and it is one of Patrick's all-time favorite movies, right? It was a play before it was a movie, but not while he was alive. So it's this movie about this guy who's has a complete break with reality. He thinks that he's Don Quixote de la Mancha. He's not. He's just some guy. He thinks that he's a knight errant. No, he's just a wandering fool. He thinks that he's fighting a dragon, a monstrous beast. No, that's a windmill. Like, he thinks that he's rescuing Principessa, and no, that's a harlot. That's a prostitute. And it's like, he is completely delusional throughout the entire thing, but he's also the only moral man. Like, his delusion is making him into the only moral person in this world. And so, like, his squire, I suppose, there's this thing between the I don't remember what her actual name is, but Dulcinea is what he calls her. Like, he thinks she's Dulcinea, the lovely princess that must be rescued and protected, and her dignity kept intact. She's talking to his squire, the guy who travels with him, and she goes, he's a loon, right? Like, none of this is real. And she's like, why do you stay with him? And he's like, I can't explain it. I just like him. Like, it's like, yeah, he might be delusional, but he's just so much nicer to be around than everybody else, right? And it's like, that's the whole crux of the story, is that, like, he is the only good person in this society because he is insane, because he doesn't see the drear and drudgery around him. Now, the authorial intent here is lovely and pure. The idea of people will try to convince you that there is a dark and terrible world around you. And maybe if you're the insane guy who thinks that life is beautiful and people have worth, maybe you are actually the only person in tune with reality, right?
Yeah.
That's the idea. And that's why I think Patrick loves it. So he recommends this movie to me, and I watch it, and I go, I hate that movie. That's a terrible movie. Because the authorial intent might have been one thing back in the 50s when it was written, right? But as I'm consuming it in 2024 or something like that, as I'm consuming it in 2024, I live in a world in which we are frequently told, even if someone's completely out of touch with reality, you need to enable their delusion. And that's the loving thing to do. And so for me consuming it, it's like, this may have been intended one way, but in now the context in which I am consuming it, the seed idea just gets warped too easily. And that's a problem with me or a problem with the time. It's not a problem with the
Right.
work itself. It's not a
Yeah.
problem with the author. So like, if you are, trying to bend the story to your will, to your agenda, to your idea, if you're taking Shakespeare, and you're saying, all right, well, let's look at how this applies to us in our lives, and someone comes up with a like, oh, well, Shakespeare, it seems clear to me that Shakespeare was saying that we all have to engage in orgies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that's a weird take, first of all, but it's like, but if that's the way that a depraved society is taking in Shakespeare, probably best for them to just put Shakespeare aside for a bit. Because, like, we need to work on some groundwork first. It's like, all right, you're probably not ready to take in things that are vastly up to interpretation because the author didn't really speak much to the authorial intent until we've gone over some basics of like, let's go toward more basic stories that introduce the idea of the objective morality of the world.
Right.
You know?
If you've been starving for so long, maybe we don't need to give you the feast. We'll just give
Right.
you the sustenance that you're going to need to kind of reacclimate yourself.
Absolutely. There's this is gonna be like a complete side thing, but just because
This whole episode is side things.
Yeah, we have not spoken at all about like what we originally intended to talk about, which is like we're two friends, we haven't talked in like a couple weeks, we're just like this is what I was thinking.
Kind of going.
Yeah, so I'm liking it. So anyway, so I got on this like Shakespeare kick a couple months ago, and it's the first time I've ever been on a Shakespeare kick. When I was in high school, I couldn't stand reading Shakespeare, and I realized, I think in like my senior year of high school, I realized that the reason this whole time why I hated reading Shakespeare is because I was reading Shakespeare. Like I am consuming the medium the way it is not intended to be consumed. It'd be like the difference between watching a movie or reading a script. It's like, no, this is meant to be performed in front of me. And I realized, when I actually see it performed well, I actually kind of dig it,
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's the medium.
yeah, if I look up a performance of King Lear and I see it put in modern times for the 20th time in the last 10 years, like
It's going to be outdated in another week.
right, and then we're gonna have to do it another time. But like I realized
Shout out to Romeo and Juliet by was it Laz Berman?
Baz Luhrmann.
Baz Luhrmann, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
With was it Leonardo DiCaprio was in
That
that?
was a headache. Oh my gosh. It's literally like there are very few movies. I can only think of like 3 off the top of my head, maybe 4, that I'm like, this is actually like physically hard to watch. Like not just a matter of like, oh, this is like a little all over the place, or like I'm having a little trouble following it. It's like this is physically difficult to watch. Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet is 100% one of those. So in any case, I was watching Much Ado About Nothing, and I've since watched it like 3 more times. The one with Kenneth Branagh and Emma Thompson back when they liked each other, and so I love that film. Kenneth Branagh does a great job in it. Emma Thompson's fantastic in it.
Yeah, he's big with Shakespeare.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of them.
Oh yeah, he's done like everything.
Yeah. I saw
Denzel
bits and pieces. I
Washington
think
is
Henry
fantastic.
V he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Denzel Washington is fantastic in it. Like he's really good in it, which is like you just don't expect Denzel Washington in a Shakespeare at first, but then you see Denzel
Right.
Washington in the Shakespeare and you're like, dang, you're actually like really carrying the show well. And then there's Keanu Reeves, who's also there.
Hey, Keanu.
And then what's his name? Who played Wilson in House and was the dude in Dead Poet Society?
Oh yeah, that guy.
And Kate Beckinsale back before she looked like Kate Beckinsale. So I don't know, she's just like, I don't know, grown into her face a little bit as time has gone on, but like in her early stuff she just looked very different. And like my first exposure to Kate Beckinsale was Total Recall remake. And so I was like, okay, that's what Kate Beckinsale looks like. So like for people who knew her back in the day, she looks like Kate Beckinsale. She just doesn't look like Kate Beckinsale to me. Anyway, that's a complete side thing. But one of my favorite things is like the opening, not the like immediate opening scene, but part of the opening sequence. It is one of the most joyful bits of film I've ever seen, and it's strange because the entire sequence is like 3 minutes of just people stripping down naked.
Hmm.
Because but it's not like raunchy. It's not sexualized. It's
Right.
a they like the young ladies realize that the young men are coming back from war, and everyone's like, "Let's bathe." Like we gotta put our
Oh,
best
yeah.
foot forward.
No,
And
this,
so
this
like
isn't like the Playboy version of Macbeth where there's just nudity because there has, of course there is.
because why not? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so it's like everyone's like, let's bathe, and it's like it's like it starts with one of the soldiers is like riding in on a horse, and he like jumps off his horse to jump into a fountain and start bathing because he wants
Yeah.
to look nice once he goes to meet the ladies, and like and so like all the men and all the ladies are like just ripping their clothes off to like go bathe, and so like you don't see anything like really graphic. You see a lot of butts, but like
Great.
you're not like dwelling on them or anything. It's
Yeah.
sort of be like, all right, yep, people are naked here, and but it is such a like sort of youthful joy being portrayed in such in a weirdly pure way of like everyone's just so excited about like, oh, the young ladies are excited that like, oh my gosh, the young men are coming back, and the young men are so excited that it's like, hey, I've been at war for years and I finally get to see women again, you know.
Yeah.
Like, and they're just excited about that, and then like it ends with like, all right, and then the men put their suits back on, and they're just doing this like V formation with Denzel Washington in the front, and they're just like hands on their swords. All right, now we got to strut and look cool as we go to meet the ladies. It's so
course.
fun.
Yeah.
Like, and this is a good example again of something that like, yeah, depending on the disposition of the viewer, that might be something that's like, yeah, really can't do that. Like, I can't do any sort of nudity. It'll like throw me over the edge, and into a pit of sin or something like that, or pit of temptation. Okay, cool, don't. But for me, I'm like, that's so fun and so romantic and so lovely, and like, I don't know, that just makes me feel happy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, but the I feel like Shakespeare's a really good example when it comes to the idea of like authorial intent versus the disposition of the consumer, because
Yeah.
Shakespeare spoke so little about his work that there are so many different theories about did Shakespeare even write his own work.
Yeah, and there's been so many centuries since then where people have done so many derivatives or things
Right.
based off of it or things inspired by it that there is just so much out there in the vein of Shakespeare that is so different and comes from so many different perspectives. You know, like I remember I was
Right.
talking to somebody a couple months ago about I can't remember which Shakespeare play it is. I think it's one of the comedies, but I forget the exact plot line. But like, there's a guy and his wife, and like he's like cheating on her or something, and like the whole play is just about her being very faithful and very stalwart, and eventually he realizes that or something like that. But the one rendition that this person was telling me about at the Globe Theatre in London, the director decided to kind of make it like, but maybe he's still with his homosexual lover.
Okay.
So they kind of like make it seem like there's something there, even though the way it's normally told is that no, he's back with his wife now because he realized that's where he's meant to be, and she cares
Right.
about him, and he's actually in love with her. So yeah, so you get things like that, where people kind of get in there and get their own little idea, and they kind of change the way it's done a bit to
Yeah.
fall into. And there's just a lot of that because Shakespeare's been around for so long.
That's the tricky thing when it comes to anything involving a script. I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I was gonna say stage, but we're like anything involving a script, a screenplay, a play, anything. Is that unlike books, and I don't know why we hold books in this much more solid, much more don't mess with it sort of place. Like if somebody, switches something around from the book, we say that was a bad adaptation.
Yeah.
Whereas anything with a script, there's the script and then there's the director. And
Yeah, because scripts are looser, right? So there's
Right.
less there, so there's more room for that. Where books are very clear in what's lined out,
Right.
and things are put into a book in a very particular way. Like scenes
Yeah.
don't tend to be wasted in books. They're there for a very specific purpose. You're meant to see the things that you're meant to see, and just those. So they're. Obviously you come up with more in your head as you imagine the scene and things like that. But it's just more of a definitive medium in that way.
No, I think you're right, but like it's that's kind of something that's like really tricky about anything involving a script is that like there's the script that is, like you said, very loose. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, here's dialogue and a couple of stage directions,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can fill in all the rest of the gaps with whatever you want to do, whatever you're wanting to show. And so, like, can I say that Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet is an inaccurate version of Romeo and Juliet? No, I can't. It has everything that's in the script.
Yeah.
Like, it's just you took those gaps and you said, let's widen them and let's shove things in there. Like,
Yeah.
like, I've said before on air, but I'm going to say it again. My favorite bit, it's not even in the movie, it's just part of the promotional material. The main, they just vomit Catholic aesthetics all over this movie. Like, candelabras everywhere, statues everywhere, crucifixes everywhere. And so it is just spewed all over who is it that Juliet's the one who drinks the potion, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
And it looks like she's dead, but she's not.
Yeah.
And then she
So-
dies because he thinks he kills himself.
Right.
Yeah. It's a whole
See,
thing.
this is something that I definitely should know because
It's been a long time since I've interacted with
no,
Romeo
but
and
like
Juliet.
it's particularly shameful that I don't know it because I've played Romeo before.
There you go.
So it's like I really should remember what I did in that scene, but so Juliet takes the potion and it seems that she's dead, and so Romeo kills himself, and then she wakes up and she's like, "Oh my gosh, Romeo's dead," and she kills herself. And then in the movie that happens, and then it pans out, and Juliet's casket is just surrounded by like 30 yards in every direction, a 30-yard radius of just constant candles. Like a nauseating amount of candles. And listen, I'm a traditionalist Catholic. I love candles, and I'm like, that's too many candles. like if I'm saying that's too many candles, there's a problem. And so like my favorite bit about Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet is that the main promotional poster is the two of them either kissing or almost kissing. You know how people always do that on posters where it's like, oh, we're about to kiss.
Yeah.
And then what is clearly supposed to be a statue of the Blessed Virgin Mary just like randomly poking her head out from behind the trees. Because that just totally matches the aesthetic of the movie. Like things are just really random and really just like scrapbooked in there. But
I also remember it being the movie just being the cuts just being like an assault.
Oh my gosh.
An assault upon your sensibility.
Dizzying.
Which is, I think it's kind of Baz Luhrmann's style.
It's Baz Luhrmann's thing.
It's just very grandiose and just very loud.
Yeah. But here's the thing: is that like
His
his
Fifth Element
other
wasn't that bad. I don't think. I don't remember it being that.
So like his
assault
this is
thing.
part of his I think he calls it like the Red Curtain collection. It's like a bunch of things that are just like involving the stage and like Moulin Rouge is part of that, for instance. And it's like Moulin Rouge I don't find as dizzying. Granted, I haven't seen it in a very long time. I might look back and go, wow, this is just as bad. Great Gatsby, fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Like, so it's like I know that like that is his style, but it's full tilt, like no breaks. And so yeah, like the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet is just a trip. But
it is indeed.
That main promotional poster has that statue of the Blessed Virgin Mary just like poking out around the corner, like that meme of Jesus being like, I saw that, you know? And it's just funny because that's clearly supposed to be Mary because they're really trying to go full tilt into the Catholic aesthetic. That's 100% Teresa of Avila. Like, that's just veiled lady from Catholic art. Like,
you tried.
Yeah. You made it attempt.
Myself. I said Baz Luhrmann. Luc Besson did The Fifth Element, so I was incorrect in that.
Well, then
Baz Luhrmann
maybe
movie.
made this style too.
Anyway.
I've never seen it. Yeah.
No, I was saying that isn't a very loud movie. It's a fancy movie, but it's a lot more.
Yeah.
At times, there are some moments. Anyway, we're not talking about Fifth Element.
Yeah, but like I feel like it's a tricky thing about Shakespeare or anything involving a script, whether it's a screenplay or a stage play or anything like that, is that you might write a story with one particular intent, and then someone's going to read it and they're going to go, I want to lean it this way. I want this to really highlight blank. So like, if you say, let's say you're reading Midsummer Night's Dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fairy's messing with everybody by making them fall in love with the wrong person. That's the plot, and it's like you might read that through a modern lens or through your own lens, and you might say, not you, but just like the general you.
Sure.
One might read that, and he might read that and go, "Oh, this is a story about homophobia," like because I'm gonna make Puck the fairy. I'm gonna make him like this sort of homophobe, and all these people are in homosexual relationships, and he tries to force them into heterosexual relationships, and they're in love with the wrong person because this isn't true to their identity, And it's like that is. Like in a weird way, even though I don't want to see that played out, I feel a little clever for coming up with that on the fly. But but it's like, yeah, you could do that. You can take that script and say, like, I'm not going to change anything about the script. The script doesn't even say that this particular character, like that Lysander is a man. Lysander can be a woman. We can rename her and have it still be the same story. Like you can do that. And that's really up to the director. You might even do something that the director doesn't anticipate. You might, in your audition, take it a certain direction. He goes, "Ooh, run with that," and he might completely reshape it again. But yeah, that's the tricky thing about fiction is that like the authority does matter, but depending on the medium, less or less.
Well, let's say maybe I'm just thinking of books, and I think books a little more. It might. A little bit more. I mean, I'm not saying it's absolute or anything, but as we did mention about books, it tends to be more of a definitive medium. So, yeah, obviously movies, because when you have directors and writers and other people involved in the process, books tend to come from one person. So these other mediums come from multiple people. Like the actors put their own, they take the characters and kind of run with it. So there's, I guess a lot more room kind of for that. I've seen Les Mis a bajillion times on stage, and every now and again you get like a bit of a different take. You get a Valjean who maybe like I remember one time I saw a audition, forget where it was, but the Jean Valjean there, he was an interesting take because he was a lot more angry in certain respects. Like there's that one scene where in my life, him and Cosette are singing. She wants to know about her past, and he's all kind of reluctant and reticent to talk about it. Says, and what's the line? I can't remember the exact line, but it's kind of God will reveal all things in His time. And the way that he like rebukes her when he says that in this one edition, where he's just like, you will learn, truths are given by God in their time, or it's something like that.
It's like, I was just like, he's like pushing back, like stop asking questions, like
where most of the times it's just kind of like, oh no, it's like, look, that's the past, and we need to kind of leave. He's a lot more, fatherly about it. Where he was a lot more harsh. Or the one that always kind of gets to me is I see this a lot more nowadays. Is you have the scene where Eponine is sent by Marius to bring a letter to Cosette to let her know that he's going to be at the barricades, and they might never see each other again, whatever. And when Eponine shows up at the house, she meets Jean Valjean at the door, and she's dressed up like a man because that's the whole thing. She's trying to be at the barricades. She's dressed up like a man. Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of the thing. So he refers to her as boy because she's dressed up like a boy, but in a lot of more recent renditions that I've seen, she kind of takes off the cap that she's wearing and defiantly kind of like throws her hair back. And it's like, the whole point is that you're supposed to be disguised as a boy. Like, he's calling you a boy because that's the way you're just like,
This
you're
is
trying to show like,
this isn't a moment of offense for you. It's it's a moment of like, oh good, it's working because I'm going to go like fight in battle. They're not going to let me.
This isn't Lord of the Rings. I am no man. Like, that's not the point of the scene.
Like, particularly at this particular point in the play, she really wants to be perceived as a man. So why would she foil that disguise to anybody? It's like, oh, he thinks I'm a boy. Great. Like, that means that they'll let me fight. Because that's like it's literally she's Mulaning. That's exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
I need to go fight in battle, and they're not going to let me if they know I'm a girl. So I need to buy myself up, put on men's clothes, and go fight as a boy.
Which, I mean, to be fair, they were kind of scraping the barrel by the end. So I'm sure they would have taken whoever would have held a gun. But you know.
Yeah, it was the June Rebellion. It wasn't the most organized
It
affair.
literally lasted for 3 days.
3 days,
Barely.
Yeah. By the skin of their teeth, and God rest them. Like these are actual people. I don't want to be like
Yeah.
too comedic about it, but like, yeah, God rest them. But like, yeah, in the history of military affairs, this wasn't one that will be emulated. Like,
Right. This wasn't the French
it's not one that's
Revolution.
gonna be. Yeah, it's not going to be
Which-
taught in like military schools.
Right. Yeah. Like this wasn't the French Revolution that that came with a lot of change. It wasn't the 1830 July Revolution, which overthrew one king and brought another king in. It was the 1832 June Rebellion, which lasted for 3 days, like 2 to 3 days.
Yeah. Yep. So the
And nothing changed.
right. So there was that one rendition of Les Mis that you and I went to see in Philadelphia, which I think was really good.
That was probably one
performance.
of the best ones I've seen.
Yeah. So we went to see this version of Les Mis, and one thing that was striking, it's not even like a different take in a sense of like, oh, it changes something about the character or about the story.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a way it's performed. The after the Archbishop, says, "I have bought your soul for God," which I'm only saying because that's how I get back into the lyrics of this one. He says, he has that line of, he's like, I'm not even thinking of the right one. I'm going with the because I was thinking of like the "What have I done, sweet Jesus? What have I done?" Whereas like I suppose I'm thinking of the one that Javert sings, which is the same melody, which is
Yes.
"Who is this man? What sort of devil is he?" And so like, side note, while I'm on it though, because that line of "What have I done, sweet Jesus? What have I done?" It's like, depending on how you read that, that is either taking the Lord's name in vain or not.
Yeah, like I've also heard it. I've rarely, but I've also heard it done. "Dear Jesus, what have I done?" Which feels a little more prayer-like, which I kind of
Right.
like. But yeah,
Yeah, you just had this encounter with God through the Archbishop, and so like that is one of my favorite songs ever. And I
Yeah.
sing it all the time in the shower, and the
good place to sing it.
and we used to live together. I sing it a lot in the shower.
Oh, I do. I do indeed.
Because I belt it out, but but when I get to that line, I at first I was like, "Ooh, should I like change this or something?" And I'm like, "No, it's the way that I read it, and this is my interpretation of the script, is that he's turning to Christ and going, 'What have I done, sweet Jesus? What have I done?'" Like he's actually talking to Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no, that's
And it's
absolutely
just,
what
like,
he's doing.
And so like someone else might read it a completely different way, but Javert has the counterpart to that, where he commits suicide, and where Valjean decides, "I'm going to repent and turn away and become this new man." Javert says, "I cannot reinvent." And so I have to just submit to the fact that I've lost and cannot reconcile these two realities. And so he jumps to his death. And Javert has this line that I first heard as Russell Crowe. So it was just sort of like "Who is this man? What sort of devil is he?" But yeah, it's like Valjean has this chance to finally get back at Javert. And for those of us who aren't versed in Les Mis, those might seem like very similar names, so I'm just going to refer to them as the main character and the cop. So the main character has this chance, after being pursued by the cop for like 30 years of his life, to finally end it and just kill the cop, and he doesn't. He lets him go free and says, "Listen, I have no desire to kill you. Just like let it go," right? And then the cop has a chance to stop the main character after that, but he feels indebted to him, and so he lets him go, which totally goes against who he is as a character. He is the law. And so he's like, he can't reconcile the two realities of I can't live in the debt of a thief. He has the line, "Damned if I live in the debt of a thief, damned if I yield at the end of a chase." And so he's like, he doesn't know what to do. He's like, I can't pursue him, but I can't let him go. And that's ultimately what drives him to the end of his life. But that line, that sort of, he can't reconcile, why did he let me go? Like that ruins my whole worldview. That ruins the whole scheme that, like, oh, criminals are criminals, they'll always do the wrong thing.
Right.
And so he has that line where he's like, who is this man? What sort of devil is he to have me caught in a trap and choose to let me go free? And and that's normally, in my experience, how it's sung, more or less. Whereas, like, when we went to see it, this man, you just see him have this conniption in his mind, and he starts, like, doing that thing where you, like, start clenching your fists around your brain, and he just goes, ah! And he just, like, bursts out, and he goes, who is this man? And, like, what sort of devil is he? And he's, like, just shouting, and then he starts singing, and it's like, oh, interesting. Like, that's a different take.
Yeah.
But it kind of hammers home.
Guy was,
oh, he was going.
he was a really good Javert.
Yeah. But, like, it felt more like, wow, your worldview is just crumbling around you. Like, that's a really good way to portray it, you know?
Yeah.
That was really good. Okay, so I am going to hop from this into one other thing just while we're on Les Mis. And that is, you know, you and I talked about, like, how Christian does the media have to be? But, like Les Mis is unwittingly...
Yes,
like,
despite Victor Hugo's best attempt.
despite Victor Hugo's best efforts, is unwittingly one of the most Catholic pieces of stage media ever made.
Which is funny, because not only against what Victor Hugo attempted, but also what the people who wrote the play attempted to make it not mention God as much as possible.
Play, they were like, let's try to take some of the religion out of it, and they couldn't.
And I think they made it more religious, honestly.
Right, like,
because
accidentally.
they condensed out a lot of the extra stuff that didn't need to be there, that kind of took away from that in the book.
Yeah. So, like, despite Victor Hugo and everybody else's best efforts, it ended up being, like, this strikingly Catholic story. And so it's just a funny thing. But, like, so when you're talking about authorial intent, like, you do have the C.S. Lewis route, where you're like, oh, I want it to be like, I don't want people, like, messing with what I was trying to make. Just do what C.S. Lewis did and make it painstakingly obvious. The story cannot possibly survive if you do not know exactly what this is. This lion is Jesus Christ.
Jesus. Yes.
We were trying to get Kiara, my 17-month-old daughter. We were trying to get her to say Jesus the other day, and Jess is like, "Can you say Jesus?" And whenever she can't say something, this is something I love about my daughter. She'll never admit that she can't say something. If you say, "Can you say blank?" she'll go, "Yeah." She was like, "Yes, I can. Thank you for asking. Any other questions while you have me?" And so she's like, "Can you say Jesus?" "Yeah." "Okay, cool. Can I hear it? Jesus?" "Yeah." And I'm like, okay, can you say Yeshua? And she goes, "Yeah." And we're like just trying, like, different versions, trying to get her to invoke God in some way.
Yeah.
And eventually we get to the point where Jess is like, "Can you say Aslan?"
I mean,
know you like cats. Somewhere. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, so you have stories like that where it's like, we're gonna make the Christianity of this painstakingly obvious, and then there's stories like Les Mis where the Christianity is kind of a side detail. It's like a background detail that informs all the rest. You know,
which is kind of how Christianity is, and for a lot of people as they experience it in life, is that you just see the people. You know, you see people around you who are Christian acting in a way that's coherent with that, and they're like, "Oh, wow, there's something interesting there." You know, like, there's something there.
Right. And that's the thing, is that, like, I feel like you have things like Les Mis that work well because it is presenting Christianity, but not in a way that, like, beats people over the head with it, but in a way that's like, okay, but the Christianity is what made Valjean who he is.
Yeah.
You know? Like, it is because of his indebtedness to God that he feels like he needs to do these things, and because of God's mercy to him. And so it presents it as a like, at the very least, if you love Les Mis, you can't come to love Les Mis and leave the play still feeling allergic to Catholicism. You know,
Yeah.
like you have to have some appreciation for something within
Yeah. At the
Catholicism.
very least for the bishop, who kind of, let him go.
Yeah, yeah. Hands down the best character.
Yeah.
But
That's like the only like outwardly religious character in the book that Victor Hugo doesn't try to like tear down. Like
Right.
he's like, no, the bishop's actually a pretty cool guy, and he even says, despite the fact that he's a bit of an ultramontanist, which basically means he's pro pope.
yeah. I mean, hey, ultramontanism is not the worst sin, you know. But the
Well,
so-
the way he meant it is that in an era where they're trying to get away from the authority
Right.
of the pope, he was pro pope because he was a bishop.
Right.
Again, Pope Pius IX was the pope, and Enlightenment people in France didn't like Pope Pius IX very much.
They did not.
So, yeah.
You have characters like things like Les Mis. You also have another Victor Hugo work, Hunchback,
Yes.
which is like strikingly like even more. We don't really like Christianity. Like it's trying to show in many ways like the sort of corruptedness of French Christianity at the time, at the very least.
Yeah.
And like even in the Disney movie, which really dials that back, like they make Frollo a judge with this strange, just absolute blank check of
Carte blanche
total
power,
authority
yeah.
with no checks or balances. I was trying to research the other day. I'm like, is there any version of an ecclesiastical judge throughout history that has the authority to burn down all of Paris in pursuit of one woman? Turns out no.
Yeah,
but
I think I was reading about, like, I know you've listened to the stage play. I've not gotten involved with the stage play a whole lot, but I was reading about the plot of the stage play. And I think in the
Yeah.
stage play they actually insert a scene where he goes to the king and he's like, "Can I have carte blanche power to go find this woman?"
Right.
And the king's like, "Yeah, sure, whatever, I don't care." So at least
Right.
they recognize that.
it's like okay, you're at least like. You're at least like acknowledging there has to be some authority given, but yeah. So yeah, he's the archdeacon in the book, and so they like the Disney movie dials it back. They're like, let's not make him a cleric. We're gonna make him a judge who, for some reason, has a vow of celibacy.
Yeah.
And
as one does apparently.
as one does, and so like things like that, they really dial it back. But even it's like when you have again the one outwardly religious character of the archdeacon, the Archdeacon of Notre Dame, who is like the only like straight up Christian moral guy, like even like Quasimodo and Phoebus. It's like, I mean, I guess they're probably Christian. They don't really talk about it,
Right.
Like, but then like everybody else that you see in the church, you only see their very greedy prayers.
Yeah.
They're like, I want fame, I want glory, I want like supermodels, like,
Yeah.
like whatever it is. It's like they just want, and they're being greedy, and it's meant to be the spiritual but not religious character who's like, no, I understand this. I don't ask for anything. I just ask that you help the outcast who needs your help. And it's like that's a little anti-Christian.
Yeah, I mean, you're on the right track in a way,
Right.
but you're still not quite.
Right, but it seems pretty strikingly anti-Christian. That's like all the Christian characters are just the worst, like except for that one guy. But even that, if you love Hunchback, at the very least, you can't be like allergic to chant.
Yeah,
Like,
there's a lot of that.
yeah, like at the very least, you're gonna
I mean,
be like.
the church is a sanctuary. The church is shown as a safe place. That
Right.
is supposed to bring
It's
security.
like there will be some things that just sort of push through.
Yeah.
And yeah, one of those things is that the church is a sanctuary. The one place you can go is a safe haven. But it's like I always find it fascinating. Like whenever you put Christianity, like when you put it so front and center that it is beating you over the head a little bit, that can really detract from it because the people who are going to resist it are going to resist it. Like this is where you get like God's Not Dead,
Right.
Like it's
Yeah.
like this is a movie that is made for, and I don't say this as an insult. I'm trying to describe the genre. It's a movie that is made for Christian kids at a sleepover to watch without their parents worrying about
Yeah.
is there something in there that I don't want them seeing, right? It's like that's the function of this movie. That's a fine function, but like if you show that, so like any given crowd, the people who don't want to hear about Christianity are gonna just tune it out, like
Yeah.
I'm not here to be preached to, sort of thing.
I mean, and even not to interrupt you, but even Chronicles of Narnia doesn't fall into that because it's an allegory, and it's that lion is Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But like, if you didn't know that going in, I don't think you'd necessarily realize that. Like, you'd see maybe some similarities there, and the doctrine is all there, but it's presented in this fantasy way.
Or you might even say like in the same way that the Hunger Games is really just the story of Theseus. You know?
Yeah.
You might say like, oh, this is like the Bible.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Whatever. It can be like the Bible. Like it is meant to be, hey, here is the gospel if this were another world. Like, it's not even technically an allegory, because an allegory is like this lion represents Jesus Christ. It's like, no, this lion is Jesus Christ. It's just that in the same way that he became man in the world of man, he became a talking animal in the world of talking animals.
Yeah.
And so it is literally the same guy, and he says as much in Prince Caspian. He's like, you need to go find me in your own world. I go by a different name there.
Yeah.
It's like,
and even that's like
really
a blink
directly.
and you'll miss it type thing,
Right?
If you're not paying attention
Yeah.
for it. Like, I saw that, I was
Right.
like, oh yeah, there it is, awesome.
Right.
But yeah,
but yeah, like going into Aslan's country at the end, you might realize that's heaven, or it might just sort of be in this magical world, this is what happens. Like, but yeah, it's like I feel like when you have things like Les Mis or like Hunchback or Sound of Music that say like Christianity is there, it is present. It's not really the focus, but it is the thing that informs the character's conscience. It's just the things like that. Say like, even if you're really hardened against Christianity, you can't really take issue with,
right.
oh, and this character happens to be a Christian. This character happens to be a Catholic. It's just part of the story. And so you just take in the story, and at the very least, it makes you a little more amicable to the idea of all these Catholic things, all these Christian things, all of these, chants or habits or like rules or things like that, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I always find it fascinating just when you have those things like sort of scattered throughout fiction.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah. All right. So we talked about nothing. Do you want to cut it there?
Yeah, that sounds good.
I mean,
Excuse me, that was an hour and 7 minutes of nothing, my friend.
an hour, 7 minutes of nothing, exactly. All right. Glory to the Father, to the Son, to the Holy Spirit.
As it was in the beginning, is now, never shall be, world without end. Amen.
Amen. The Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Go be holy,
Amen.
everybody.